the flows into passive or index ETFs and active. Put up this chart here, guys. It's 90% passive and index, the total flows. Now, I know, of course, a lot of ESG flows and a lot of thematic flows are pegged to indexes, but we've been told about the rise of active for years. I mean, look at this. This is only through December 8th, almost 740 billion into passive, 73 billion. I mean, that's 10 to 1 into active. What does this tell us?
No, exactly. Active has been such a hot topic for the last several years, but if you look at the space, I mean, there's only about 300 billion in assets following active strategies. However, but I think it's more important to note that just because the majority of products out there in the marketplace are deemed passive, it doesn't mean that they're not being used in an active way or on a core position. So, I mean, you look at the proliferation of the ETF marketplace, 10, 20 years ago, investors and advisors alike didn't have the ability to get creative with trying to create some of these satellite positions. And now you're looking at over or nearly 2,800 US listed ETFs. They now have the tools to tilt the portfolio one way or another based on their risks, their objectives, and that hasn't been there historically.
Right, and Jay, thematic tech can be both active and passive, right? My perception is much of thematic tech follows indexes, although some, like Kathy Wood is a good example, would, for example, be picking their own at this point. So there is a distinction. Does this matter to you, active versus tech in the whole, passive versus active in the whole thematic business?
It absolutely does. The question is, where do people want to make that active decision? Do they want to make the active decision in allocating to the theme, picking something like robotics and artificial intelligence for 2022? Or do they want to have the active decisions being made at the security selection level, trying to pick those winners within themes? A lot of our funds are passive and index tracking, and we allow investors and advisors to use them as these building blocks in the portfolio where they make the decisions around which themes they believe in. But we also have an actively managed product that KEJI, it accesses Chinese tech themes, and it's actively selecting the securities that are best positioned there. So there's certainly room for both. It comes down to, where does the investor want to make that active decision? Theme selection or company selection within those themes?
Yeah, it's not easy to make that decision. I tend to think it's better, the old Jack Bogle in me tends, it's better to follow a rules-based system than have an active manager, but that's obviously the core of this whole debate.